Welcome to Midlife Moves, where we're figuring out this whole midlife thing one day, one workout, and one what the hell just happened moment at a time. I'm Heather, and if you're navigating career shifts, fitness goals, parenting teenagers, or just wondering when the hell we became the grown-ups, you're in the right place. Let's talk about the real stuff, no filters, just honest conversations and a little bit of chaos. Let's get into it. Hi. I'm Heather Francis, and welcome to a very bonus episode of Midlife Moves. In a couple episodes, tomorrow, I'm interviewing a woman named Kathleen Corpola. She is with Living Golden Well. She works with daughters to help them navigate their parents' illnesses and aging. It just so happened I started talking to her. She reached out on Instagram and she was like, I have this service. I'd love to talk to you and your viewers. And it just so happened I was going through something very similar. And I was even thinking like, who do I talk to? Who could I talk to? Because this isn't just me. Like, this is this is the phase of life we're in, like that sandwich generation thing, right? Like we've got kids we're raising, but our parents are also aging and are, kind of needing more assistance than maybe they did before. And so she reached out and I was like, yeah, I think that this is a really good topic. So I'm going to talk to her more about like the logistics of the care while they're alive. But in the meantime, I wanted to jump on and do a little episode about grief because my interest in talking to her was based from experience. My stepdad had dementia and he passed away 2 weeks ago. So like the care while they're alive is one thing, but the grief when they're gone is another. And I felt like I wanted to address them separately. And so since the grief is fresh for me, I figured this was a good time to talk to you guys. He had dementia. We've known about it for maybe 5 or 6 years. And then like maybe a year ago, he started to really decline. And that decline looked like loss of mobility. Like he was forgetting things. He was tired a lot, like all of the typical dementia stuff. But the lack of mobility was happening faster than the decline in like his cognitive function. Just remember guys, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the terms for this. So if you do know them, just bear with me and just like be like, all right, Heather, you're pretty. Good job, honey. So anyway, his physical decline was faster than his cognitive decline. And then maybe 6 weeks ago, he had an issue with his belly. So they had to hospitalize him. When you have dementia and you're hospitalized, it's generally not tolerated well. And he did not tolerate it well. He didn't tolerate it well cognitively or physically. And he just, that was kind of like the beginning of the end. By the time they stabilized him from like the reason he was hospitalized and put him in a short-term care facility, a lot of his, he was immobile. We would go in to see him and he would be slumped in his wheelchair. It happened really, really fast. The past 6 weeks have been both the longest 6 weeks of my life and the shortest 6 weeks of my life. So over the time that he was in this facility, it was just it was just continued decline. His breathing changed. He stopped eating. And then he lost the ability to swallow. And when that happened, the writing was kind of on the wall. At the same time, I had a business trip planned. Michael and I were supposed to go to South Carolina to meet with our peer group, a mastermind group that we're part of. I was supposed to leave on a Tuesday. The Sunday before we were supposed to leave, I went out to the nurses and I was just sobbing. And I was like, what do I do here? Do I go? Is he going to be here when I get back? And they were like, no, go. You've got plenty of time. You've got plenty of time. So we go on our trip and everything was pretty uneventful. We didn't really hear anything. And I figured we probably had a week, that week was probably safe. I don't know how long this stuff takes. I've never experienced this before. And so I went on our trip and Friday came for us. It was time for us to come home and we're boarding the plane at 2:25. And I remember that because all of a sudden, there was all this chaos around us. There was just chaos in the airport and Michael had to run to the bathroom and he doesn't do that. There was just all this weird energy. And at 2:25, my stepdad, Mike, passed away. So we were getting on the plane to come home. So of course, we didn't find out until hours later. We didn't find out until we were I was sitting down to dinner. We got home from the airport. I got our bags put down. I was I need to eat something now. And we were just sitting down to eat something. And my mom called and she was like, I think you need to come over. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. So I wanted to talk specifically about grief. And I wanted to talk specifically about like the different ways that grief can show up and how all of it's okay. Because I think every way that grief could show up has shown up in me because I'm a lunatic. And I feel like I don't emote like a normal person, but in reality, I probably do. I just don't talk to people about it, which is, what I'm here for with you guys. So I have gone through everything from feeling nothing at all, to angry with myself, angry with people in my life, and then just this hole where he is not going to be anymore because we're entering into the holiday season. So for the first week and a half, I was able to focus on like, okay, let's get through the funeral. Let's get the logistically, let's get everything planned. Let's deal with the things that need to be done. And that's generally pretty good. Like if I have a task at hand, I'm golden. I don't need to feel like I don't need to emote. Like I can just focus on that task. Okay. So like that. And that's my mother-in-law passed away. And that was the same thing with her. Like my husband and I took care of all the arrangements, and it made it like we had something to focus on, and I didn't have to feel anything. I could just, do the things. And with Mike, it was very much the same thing, but it was just like it was me supporting my mom. What did she need from me and my brother? And like the two, and it was the three of us stepped up. So we have a blended family. My mom and my stepdad were married 33 years. So he was with me when I was 12 years old. I started 7th grade living with him. He was my second dad. I think part of the complexity of this for me is that it is a blended family. He has older children that I'm not close to. And just because of age, they're wonderful people. There's no animosity. It's not like anything like that, but I'm not his daughter, and we didn't grow up together. And so trying to balance my place with their place, and they're not local to me. So I was physically there a lot. They were not. And that was just a logistical thing. Like they're in the Midwest and I'm 5 minutes from my parents. That all made everything more complicated for me emotionally. And I know that a lot of you in my generation we're children of divorce and we're children of blended families. And it makes grieving different because on one hand, that's not my dad. On the other hand, he kind of is. A lot of us are going to be losing parents. A lot of you have lost parents. I posted something about it on Instagram on a story and for 15 minutes, a half hour. And then I was like, this is coming down. This is a little too vulnerable, even for me, for Instagram. But in the time that it was up, a bunch of you sent me messages and you were like, it sucks. I've been where you are. There are things that I wish I did differently. I wish that I was more patient with him. I wish that I was more present and not so focused on my life and just getting, my family and doing the things. And I wish that I was more present with them. I wish that I had a better understanding of his condition. My mom was his caretaker. I was not his caretaker. It wasn't until the very end when when he was in the hospital that I jumped in and started saying, okay, I'm here for whatever you need me to be here for. I regret not doing that sooner. Realistically, there probably wasn't a whole lot I could have done. And there probably wasn't a whole lot my mom would have wanted me to do because they very much didn't want to be a burden to any of us. Fortunately, we're family. Sometimes we want to be a burden, include me in your stuff, right? I wish I would have had that conversation earlier. What I don't regret is the time that I did spend with him at the end. I got to say goodbye. I got to say goodbye several times because I didn't know if when I left that night, it would be the last time I would leave. And the time before I left for my trip, I told him how much I love him. And he just said, I love you so much. This is part of life right now, guys. At his funeral, my best friend showed up and she was like, I can't believe this is where we are. And some of you have already dealt with this and some of you are going to deal with it. And it sucks. And it is challenging. Family dynamics are horrible sometimes. But the one thing that I'm holding on to through all of this are the moments that we had together and the lessons that I learned from him. I've got 2 stories for you, just to honor him, and then we'll wrap this shit up. Days before he passed away, I was there and I was telling him Mikey had a soccer game and they lost. And Mikey is the sorest loser in the whole wide world, guys. He is really a sore loser. He really takes loss personally. So I'm telling my stepdad, I'm telling my mom, he had this game and he lost it and it was bad. My stepdad could barely talk. There were barely words coming out. There were some days that he was doing that, like he was trying really, really hard, but he couldn't form the words, which was very hard to watch. But he got out like, did you tell him winning isn't everything? And that's very much my stepdad. My stepdad played for a national championship Notre Dame football team. And he made sure anyone who met him knew that. So winning was a lot to him. But in those last days, he wanted to make sure Mikey understood that winning isn't everything. There's so many more important things. The other thing that he did, I put this on my personal Facebook story too, or Facebook page, as when I shared that he had passed away. When I was 15, I wanted to make dinner for my family. I had never cooked before. My mom had always cooked, and I watched her and I was like, how hard can it be to make spaghetti? You put it in water and you just let it do its thing. I didn't realize there's actually a little bit of work to do with that. And what came out of the pot was a ball of mush. It wasn't spaghetti anymore. I don't even know what it was, but it was repulsive. And I just remember being so embarrassed. And I had 2 brothers, so I'm sure they were saying absolutely everything that I was thinking. That meal was the most disgusting thing I probably ever had. And my stepdad ate every single bite of it. He ate every bite of it. And with every bite, he told me how good it was. And then he went up for seconds. And I knew it wasn't good. I knew that it wasn't good. That was the worst meal I ever cooked. Actually, that's not even true. I have probably made worse meals, which is embarrassing because I am a full-grown adult. But that was a horrible meal that I made. And that man ate every bite and then went up for seconds and told me with every bite that this was the best thing he ever ate. And that was how he built us up. And that was how I will always remember him. And so, guys, I guess I'm just going to wrap this up and stop crying into the microphone now and just leave you with, if this is something that you're going through, there's not a wrong way to feel. There's not a way that you should be feeling. There's not an easy way out either. And of course, my DMs are always open. If you want to talk about this, I'm not going to respond a whole lot because I'm really bad at responding to people apparently. But I will let you know that I'm thinking about you, and we can spend a moment together remembering your loved one. And that's all I've got. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being present with me and going through this phase of life. Until next time. That's it for this episode. If you had fun, learned something, or just feel a little less alone in the chaos, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want to keep the conversation going, come find me on Instagram @HeatherMoves_, because midlife is way more fun when we do it together. Until next time, keep moving forward, or at least keep moving. See ya.